Hi, this is SolarPod Reads, and today we're bringing you another chapter of Sontails Dreams Come True. Before we get started, just want to remind you to leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, maybe share this video around with other people that want to listen to some cool fan fiction. Let's get started with Chapter 18, Ladies' Choice Dance. Sonic went through the motions like he did every time he had to dress in fancy clothes. He braved an extended shower, shuddering as the uncomfortable water soaked deep into his fur. He dried himself thoroughly and pulled the tight-fitting, crisp white shirt over his head, expertly avoiding catches in his quills, and straightened it out at the waist. He fiddled with his cufflinks, thinking what a waste they were, and folded his collar over neatly. To Sonic, any reason to wear clothing was not worth the effort, but for the school dance. But he knew that this was an important occasion, and if he didn't go with Amy, then the consequences would be dire. After he finally got his suit sorted, he whipped out his phone and fired off a text to the Golden Fox. Sonic, I hate wearing suits. Tails, you're telling me. Sonic, stupid Amy, chaos, she's annoying. Tails, well, we can still dance together though, right? Sonic, yep. Sonic, well, not together, but close to each other. Tails, this is gonna be a long night. Sonic, you'll be able to get through it, buddy. I know you can do it. Tails, thanks. Sonic, gotta go. See you there. Tails, goodbye, Sonic. Sonic sighed, placing the phone in his pocket as he walked over to the mirror. He studied the complexion, focusing more on his face than the suit that had begun to restrict the blood flow through his legs. Sonic reached into the bathroom cupboard and pulled out some gel, applying it through his quills and combing them to make them look slick. After it had set, he quickly shredded his hand through them, messing them up slightly so he still looked cool, but with no effort put into it. The blue hedgie smiled, studying his final appearance when his joy suddenly faded and a frown crossed his face. Sonic! Amy's here! His mother yelled from downstairs. Sonic sighed and begrudgingly began heading downstairs to brave the storm that he knew was in store for him. Amy's face lit up as he emerged from the staircase and rushed over to him, flinging her arms around his neck and nuzzling her head into his shoulder. Sonic, you look amazing! She squealed happily. Hey, Amy, you look so beautiful! He forced out, applying a fake smile which looked as awkward as it felt. I do, don't I? She laughed, spinning around on the spot. The edge of her dress, that flared out below her knees, rose in the air slightly as she turned. Amy wore a black dress, which contrasted nicely to her pink fur. That was quite simplistic in design, but simply highlighted her better features, and was skinny around the waist and chest, which accentuated her hips. I'm impressed, son. I thought you'd never get a girlfriend, but you picked a good one, Vector said with surprising sincerity. For the first time in the longest time, Vector actually gave his son a genuine smile and praised him for something, rather than just hitting him when he messed up. She's definitely a keeper. I'm so glad you two found each other. His mother chimed in happily, a broad smile plastered over her face. Thanks, guys, Sonic replied, trying his hardest to sound like he meant it. He felt horrible, seeing how happy his two parents were when they met Amy. He knew that if it were Tails, the person he wanted to be here with him, then both of them would be berating him with insults and calling the rest of the town to burn them at the stake. We aren't witches, we're normal people, Sonic thought, but quickly snapped out of the impeding rant when he realized that his mother had gotten the camera out and was commanding them to pose together for a nice photo. Sonic managed to drag Amy out the door before the 30th photo, and the two walked side by side towards the school. Amy threaded her arm through the gap between Sonic and his body, clinging to him for life as she leaned against him. He sighed, struggling to walk straight the awkward way Amy positioned her body, but he knew better than to complain. He put on a brave smile as the school hall grew bigger and larger in the distance, and the two arrived at the front door, flashing their tickets to Armadillo. You two can go in, Mighty responded, ushering them in to join the rest of the guests. Sonic took a deep breath and stepped through the door. Have fun at the dance, honey, Tails' mom cooed after him as the young fox exited his house and bounded down the street towards the house of the young rabbit. He felt a buzz in his pocket, taking out his phone and read the text that he had received from his love. After a few short lines of conversation, the two sent their goodbyes, and Tails was left alone with only his thoughts as he continued along his path to his date's house. This is stupid, he thought to himself. Cream is nice and all, but why do I have to go to this dance with her? I should be able to go with Sonic, and nobody should have any problems with it. Sometimes I hate this place. Tails sighed as he arrived at the rabbit's front door. He raised his hand, preparing to knock, when a wave of regret washed over him. He held his hand hovering in front of the door whilst deciding whether he could go through with this. He wanted to go back home and just forget about this, but he knew that it would be unfair not only to Cream, but Sonic as well. With contempt, he knocked on the door and waited patiently until he was greeted by a short girl who wore a little yellow dress and her two parents who welcomed Tails in warmly. "Thanks for agreeing to go with me." Cream blushed as she leaned against Tails, his arm around her waist as the two posed in front of Vanilla, who went wild, constantly snapping hundreds of pictures, blinding the two. "No problem, Cream, but don't you think we should get going?" Tails asked, thinking of an excuse to escape the barrage on his sight. "I would like to be able to see you tonight," he joked, thinking that the compliment wouldn't be enough to coerce Cream to leave her parents. He was right. With a quick wave goodbye, the two teenagers left the house and headed over to the school, eventually getting ushered in by Mighty, a senior who volunteered to help out that night, and entered the hall. The dance started off typical enough. The main hall had been cleared of clusters of chairs which normally took up the main floor. A plethora of tables lined the walls, each holding an assortment of different goodies, from chocolates and lollies to chips and biscuits. Sonic noticed Shadow over sitting behind one of the tables and decided to take his chance to annoy his ambivalent friend. "Why are you serving the drinks?" Sonic mocked, pointing to the bottles of alcoholic beverages that were concealed in an ice cooler behind the ebony hedgehog. "Well, I can't dance anymore because of somebody," he replied harshly, pointing out the cast that was wrapped around his leg. "Oh yeah, sorry about that," he apologized, rubbing the back of his head. "Sorry doesn't cut it, faker. I didn't even do anything, and you just broke my leg," Shadow said, his voice raised slightly. "You were bullying Tails," Sonic retorted. "He doesn't need a babysitter. Don't mess with my friends, and I won't mess with you." "I wasn't even doing anything," Shadow shouted, throwing his hands in the air. At this point, many of the students close to the two had turned their attention to watch the ensuing conflict. Noticing this, Sonic decided to end it. "Let's be honest, you're just using this broken leg as an excuse, because no girl asked you. The only girl you like is here with me." Sonic winked. "You'll regret that, Hedgehog," he warned. No, don't get up. I'll make it back to my date without you. Not that you could get up anyway," Sonic mocked, walking away. "Later, Shads." Shadow sat fuming with anger, and he was so sick of getting one-up by that arrogant prick, but there was nothing he could do about it. He sat in silence, handing out drinks to aged students for the remainder of the night, focusing on the pink hedgehog dancing with Sonic. The night continued to go on without a hitch as the hours passed. Amy danced happily and Sonic complied begrudgingly, wishing that he could be anywhere but there. Everything was going as smoothly as it could possibly go, and Sonic was content, not wanting to push anything further. If he could just keep the pink demon happy, then this night would be over before he knew it. "Hey guys," Silver smiled, dancing his way over to the two hedgehogs, parting the crown with an awkward and unsightly robotic dance. Blaze followed behind, blushing from embarrassment as she covered her face with one hand. "Silver, can't you dance like a normal person?" Sonic laughed. "Still a better dancer than you," he retorted, and the two met together with a high five. "Fun night, isn't it?" "It's alright," Sonic shrugged, struggling to keep up his coolness despite the time he was having. When their small conversation died down, the main focus of the two couples fell upon Blaze and Amy. Neither girl had said a word out loud, but it seemed they were locked in their own mental battle, screaming insults through their gazes. "Hey, what's going on with those two?" Silver whispered. "Wish I knew," Sonic replied, equally as quiet. "Hey Blaze, how you been?" Sonic asked, walking over and giving Blaze a brief hug. "Oh, hey Sonic, nothing much," she replied, snapping out of her staring match and acting like nothing was going on at all. "Come on, Sonic, let's go dance over there," Amy complained, grabbing his shirt and pulling him away. He waved goodbye to the two hedgehogs, annoyed by Amy's haste and rudeness, but he knew better than to tell her off for it. "What was that about?" Silver whispered to Blaze, keeping a fake smile until Sonic turned around. "Just forget about it," Blaze huffed. "It's nothing." Silver decided it would be best to drop the subject for the time being, but he knew that it was nothing by the sour expression and clear angst apparent on Blaze's face when the two turned up. "Hey guys!" The hedgehogs heard a quiet voice behind them. It startled Blaze slightly as she turned around, intent on scalding the person who scared her when she wasn't paying attention, but her malice drained away when she saw the small fox. "Oh, hey Tails, how are ya?" Blaze asked politely, giving him a brief hug. "We're good," he replied, speaking for both himself and the rabbit standing next to him. "And more importantly, are you and Cream an item now?" Silver asked with a sly wink. Blaze, seeing the uncomfortable expression on the kit's muzzle, nudged Silver in the ribs with her elbow. "Ouch!" Silver squealed, rubbing his side. "What was that for?" "Don't insinuate things," Blaze snapped at him, surprising the normally calm hedgehog. "Oh, Blaze, babe, did I do something wrong? I'm sorry," Silver cried out, not knowing what he did wrong. Blaze, after taking in a deep breath and calming down a bit, realized that she had no reason to be mad at Silver since he didn't know any better and decided to apologize. "So, do either of you know where Sonic is?" Tails asked sheepishly, rubbing his arm whilst asking. Blaze looked at him with a warning glance, raising an eyebrow at him. He tried to return the gaze, but he knew as much as she did what a bad idea it would be to mingle with Sonic tonight, of all nights. He gulped down his sadness and readied himself to leave when Silver spoke up. "Yeah, he's dancing over there." Silver pointed towards the blue hedgehog. Cream smiled at him before grabbing Tails and going over to join Amy and Sonic. "Ouch!" Silver screamed again when Blaze sent another elbow into his side. "Okay, what was that one for?" Blaze didn't even bother giving him an answer. She just stormed over to get some punch, leaving the thoroughly confused hedgehog to stand alone awkwardly, wondering. "Hey guys!" Sonic shouted out, waving to the fox and rabbit when he noticed them, heading out over to the corner of his eye. Amy was swaying to the beat, her arms around Sonic's waist when he broke contact. "Sonic! The deal was we danced together," she whined. "Sorry, Amy. You two can still have an intimate dance and we can go somewhere else." Cream apologized solemnly, giving Amy a smile. "Thanks, Cream. We can dance together later, okay?" Amy feigned happiness, trying her best to be polite, even though Tails was the last person she wanted to see at that moment. "Nah, it's cool. We can dance together." Sonic laughed, grinning from ear to ear as he put his arms around the two of them in a friendly manner, although secretly leaning closer to Tails and pushed them into a circle. "Sonic, can I talk to you for a second?" Amy breathed through her teeth, pinching his arm and pulling him over to the side. "Chill, Ames. We have the whole night." "Remember what will happen if you don't do what I say," she warned, an evil smile crossing her lips. After she finished her sentence, but before Sonic could fully contemplate his decision, the DJ took to the stage and began playing his favorite song. "In a bit, this is my jam!" Sonic took off back to the circle, dancing happily with Tails and Cream, momentarily forgetting the weight that Amy was holding over his head. Amy angrily stomped back over to the group, raising her voice. "Sonic, go get me some punch, or else!" She stamped her foot to emphasize, but Sonic couldn't hear her threats over the blaring, thumping music that had taken control of his body. Amy, completely focused on the single goal of prying Sonic away from Tails, moved in closer and screamed to his ear, "Come with me, or I'll tell everybody!" "Amy, it's just one dance. Can't it wait a little later?" Tails begged, applying his puppy dog eyes that Sonic and most people in Mobius couldn't resist saying yes to. However, Amy was different. She wanted Sonic, and she wanted him now. If there was one thing people knew about the stubborn pink hedgehog, is that when she sets her mind on something, she gets what she wants. "Shut up, Tails!" Amy snapped, much to the horror of Cream and Tails. "Lay off a Tail!" Sonic yelled, stepping between the two. "Get out of my way, or else!" Amy screeched, rage brewing inside of her. What had begun to kindle as a small annoyance of the fox had slowly grown and blossomed. Now her anger and hatred for the fox had billowed into an inferno, setting off explosions of rage in her eyes. It wasn't just the fact that he was gay, it was the fact that he was gay with Sonic, her Sonic. With him out of the picture, Sonic would be all hers. He would come to his senses and marry her. She knew it! "Amy, please don't be like that," Cream pleaded. "You sniveling little brat, hiding behind Sonic and Cream," Amy spat, completely overcome by this sudden rage. She pushed past the defensive Sonic and walked right up to Tails, her fist balled. She shook visibly from anger, rage, hatred, disdain, and most importantly, jealousy. All these hurt-filled emotions welled around inside her, clouding her better judgment until it took control of her thoughts and actions. Before she knew what was happening, her fist had connected with Tails' cheek and sent the fox to the floor in a wail of pain. "You bitch!" Sonic screamed, rushing over to his friend's aid with an extended hand. Tails grabbed it and was hoisted back onto his feet, rubbing the mark that Amy's knuckles had left imprinted on his face. "What was that?" Amy hissed, knowing that despite her previous transgressions, she still held the most cards in the equation. I said you're a bitch, Amy. I don't care what you do. I'm done. Death is worth more than having to deal with you. When you hit Tails, you cross the line. He yelled at the top of his voice, attracting some unwanted attention from his classmates around him. Blaze rushed over to the two boys' defense, staring Amy down. How could you hit Tails like that when he did nothing wrong? Blaze announced loud enough so the bystanders could hear. As whispers traveled around the hall, one by one the students began to turn on the pink hedgehog. What did he do? One yelled. You're mean, another added. Go home, nobody wants you here anymore. More joined in the abuse of the hedgehog, pressing on her last final nerve. It's over, Amy. We're through, Sonic stated plainly, grabbing Tails' arm and walking out of the room. I thought you were my friend, Cream said, her normal innocence lost and instead filled with pain. Tears ran down her face, causing her mascara to run in ugly lines. Amy growled angrily, cursing their names. And you said this was gonna be a bad night. Sonic laughed as the two headed to the exit. It may not have been but what we expected, but at least we finally got her off our backs. Yeah, but I would have liked that to happen without causing me physical pain. Tails laughed, overwhelmed by the night's events, but glad that Sonic had been able to leave Amy with no repercussions. Little did Tails know that nothing was ever that simple. Amy, still engulfed by rage, pushed past the jeering students, making her way up onto the stage. She broke past the teachers that tried to restrain her and made her way up onto the stage. Before the DJ could interject, she shoved him out of the way and grabbed the microphone, holding it up to her mouth. Amy, no! Blaze yelled, trying to tackle her off the stage, but wasn't fast enough. Amy cleared her throat and spoke into the mic. Sonic and Tails are gay with each other! Suddenly, the whole room went silent and Sonic and Tails froze at the doorway. They both turned, looking back into the hallway as everybody instantly shut up and all pairs of eyes, students, teachers, and helpers, were all trained on the two boys. Blaze just stood flabbergasted, staring at the two. They searched her eyes for answers, but both went numb when she didn't have any. That's when the students began to act. Anyways, that's it for this chapter. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys next time for chapter 19. Have a good one.